is the best description with all the inches of rain that we're expecting, and in fact, feet of rain in some places. I'd like to show you a graph now of what's going on. This is a plot of the tidal gauge near New Bern, North Carolina. And what we're seeing here is over the course of the past 2 days, how the water level has risen significantly, then took a dip, and now it's rising again. This is the rise from the storm surge. You can see it brought the water level up on the order of 5 or 6 feet, started to come down. Now it's going back up again. Why? Because of all the rain that's falling upstream and now coming down the river. So a combination of storm surge and rainfall has brought the river to major flood category.
That is such a dramatic rise. So, Ed, you're talking about fresh water, correct? None of this has anything to do with the tides.
No, the first part of this is the storm surge. This is back 36 hours ago, early yesterday, when the water level was about near normal, and then started rising all day yesterday. That was from the storm surge. Now the rains are falling, and while the storm surge might be diminishing just a bit, the rain is pushing the river up by coming down the river.
And Tanya mentioned tides, though. High tide coming up at roughly midnight. Is that a concern?
It is, because now we'll get some more of the surge back into that area potentially if the winds are strong enough. Certainly going to be a problem along the coast, where we're still expecting to have that storm surge of 3 to 5 feet, and maybe again approaching the 8 to 10 foot level up the river, Neuse River, which is near New Bern, and the Pamlico River. So still a problem on the coast with the storm surge, even though the winds have come down. But by far the greatest problem tomorrow and Sunday, and then into next week, will be the flooding from rainfall.
So the rain is just expected to continue for how long exactly, Ed?
It'll be for a couple days in the inland areas. If we look at now, we've had a couple spots here where we've already seen 20 inches of rain. That's the white here. This is a radar depiction of how much rain has fallen. This is eastern North Carolina, so we have Wilmington here, Morehead City, New Bern. Large swath of 2 to 3 inches, 5 to 10 inches. That's all going to move to the west, expand to the west, and by the end of the weekend, almost all of North Carolina is going to have had 5 or more inches of rain. Probably half the state's going to see more than 10 inches of rain, and we've already seen those 20 plus totals. Could see as much as an isolated spot of 35 or 40 inches.
Let's talk about between now and sunrise. The first slide you put up showed just the heavy cells that continue to sit as we talk about the storm sitting there, moving just 3 miles an hour west, with potentially high tide, with the storm surge. Where are you concerned about in this next period of 12 hours or so?
The next 12 hours, we still have concerns along the coast because the surge is still high enough to be life-threatening, could be 3 to 5 feet. Probably the biggest concern is going to be the river area that we just talked about, the Neuse and the Pamlico, where not only do we still have the surge, but now we're starting to get the rain draining off towards the sea. So we have water coming from both up above and from below. That's where we're going to have the greatest concern for the next 12 hours. And actually, it's going to continue that way for the next couple of days, because as the rain spreads westward, all the flooding water is going to come down back towards the sea and eventually come down these rivers as well.
Ed, you clearly know more about storm systems than I do, but this seems to be a very lasting storm. I mean, to have rain for the next several days at those levels, is that unusual?
It is, because of the very slow motion, and that's very unusual as well. We do see systems like this occasionally at sea. They'll stall or do a loop. But in this case, that's the worst of circumstances, in that it did it right at the shoreline and now just inland. It's just prolonging the hazards both at the coast and eventually in the inland areas.
Okay, Ed Rappaport, we look forward to talking to you one more time tonight, a little after 11 o'clock Eastern. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you.
And joining us now from Garner, North Carolina, just outside Raleigh, is